All right, we are back. I cannot wait to talk through the most curious range of the wide receiver draft board this year. This is rounds 3 to 4, 29th to 50th overall in Yahoo ADP. Ray, I can't wait to break this group down with you. This group of players, T. Higgins, 29th overall, Tyreek Hill, 34th overall, Jackson Smith and Jigba, 37th. Mike Evans, right in the same sort of range there. Garrett Wilson, 38th overall. Devontae Adams, Terry McLaurin, Marvin Harrison Jr., DK Metcalf to round it out there at 50th overall. Ray, I have not been drafting much wide receivers in this range here, man. We'll talk through some of the specific players, but first, just when you look at this group compared to sort of the overall players that are going here, quarterbacks, tight ends, some running backs, have you been targeting wide receivers in this range very much?
I mean, this is the wide receiver range right here that you just need a therapy session. You just need to sit down with a good buddy and just talk through every last one of the players in this range because, Matt, you look at it, it could go incredibly well or really, really bad for a third-round pick in this range of wide receivers. So I think depending on how you're feeling that day, the vibes when you wake up and you click that draft room, I think you might be looking for some different positions, some quarterbacks, maybe if a tight end is falling through the cracks. And that's not to knock the players in this range because, I wrote an article that's live right now, risky players to gamble on, and there are two players in this range that can absolutely win you a season, win you a week, win you a league. And there's a couple of them that you'll be looking at the end of the season like, why on earth? I knew good and damn well I should not have made that pick in the third round. It's a very interesting range of wide receiver.
Yeah, and again, it's looking at the overall players like that go around here because it's not that I dislike some of the bets in this range, and we'll talk through some of the guys that I actually do like. I mean, shoot, there's going to be some hits here, no question about it. But when you're stacking these guys up against the elite quarterbacks, for sure, I just often find myself defaulting to which one of Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Jaden Daniels has slipped to me. That's who I want to take in the third round. That I want to come away in the third. And I just have, even over the weekend, man, at the Expo, I took Jaden Daniels because I was faced with a lot of these guys versus him. I much prefer Jaden Daniels.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. I wouldn't blame anybody else for making that pick either. You're sitting there and you know what? Instead of Marv, I'm just going to lock up the onesie Trey McBride. I'm taking him right there. So I think we can tell a story, Matt, for every one of these receivers to be incredible in fantasy football this year, have some explosive weeks, help you win a league. But I think this is a range where a lot of people are just kind of like, I would avoid. I just don't, unless you got strong conviction, give me one, but I definitely don't want 2 or 3 out of this range,
Okay, so tell me the story on one of them because it is a very different range. There's sort of like T. Higgins is sort of in his own kind of bucket there in terms of career arc, and I guess maybe Metcalf, so maybe they're the sandwich guys, but the rest of them, it's a lot of young guys, second-year players, Marvin Harrison, third-year JSN, and then it's a bunch of dudes we've seen for a minute now, Mike Evans, Adams, McLaurin. So if you like one or two guys from this range that you actually like taking, if you're forced into it because the board is that way, who's maybe someone from this group that you think could actually pop? Because someone will.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking right there. And he may be the riskiest of them all. But Tyreek Hill right there in Miami. And I know he is a controversial player to talk about right now. There's all kind of early speculation and people talking he could be on the move. But we're 1 year removed from Tyreek Hill being voted on by his peers as the number 1 overall player in the NFL, a player that we thought could push for 2,000 yards in a season, had 1799 in that year. And let's just be honest, the entire Miami Dolphins offense last year, outside of Devon Achane getting targeted like crazy and Jonnu Smith, who is no longer there, underperformed in 2024. For Tyreek Hill had his lowest fantasy output since his rookie season in Kansas City last year for Miami. I'm not worried about anybody else in this offense. If he is out there and Tua Tagovailoa is healthy, this is a player who is absolutely capable of not just exceeding his draft capital right now in the third round, but being a true guy that's finished as one of those upper echelon receivers. He can still do it. It's risky as hell. I'm not telling anybody it's guaranteed to happen, but if there's a guy in there that can do it and is probably going to get the opportunity to do it, if he's on Miami, it's scary, but Tyreek Hill could do it, man.
God, he's like the guy I want to take the least in this range because
but talk about it. Why not? Talk about it. Talk about it, Matt. Talk about it.
Okay, so first of all, like I say this all the time, the thing I am least confident in forecasting is exactly how declines are going to go, especially with reception perception at the wide receiver position, because sometimes, Ray, you see it with a guy that he starts to decline and then the next thing is right off the cliff. Sometimes you see guys just take that steady decline. I think, again, Keenan Allen is one of these guys that he's not the same player that he used to be, but he's certainly not off the cliff just yet. He's still, I think, a useful player of a passing game. So Tyreek Hill definitely started to decline last year on an individual standpoint. Now, I know there was the risk stuff. Immediately, you get the response, well, hey, maybe he just wasn't all the way locked in. I don't love that as an excuse ever for any player, by the way. Like, who's to say he's fully locked in this year? You know, he's kind of beefing with the quarterback. He's talking about who should be in at the goal line. Mike McDaniel puts Jalen Wright in at the goal line in the damn preseason game.
Right.
Immediately stuffed. He's like, see, Tyreek, I know what I'm talking about here. Anyways, don't love that part of it. That's like sort of the more intangible thing. But I also just, one thing I am confident in saying, usually once a guy starts to decline, he's in his 30s like that, the next thing isn't right back up to the elite form. You know what I'm saying? So I just think when I look at this range of players, I think if somebody's going to beat us here, Ray, like I think there could be some good picks here. You know, like Mike Evans is, I think, a guy that like, yeah, you take him at wide receiver 15 or 14, something like that. He maybe finishes as wide receiver 12, but does he like explode, really exceed the ADP? Not necessarily. But if I was going to bet on one of these guys in this range, I think it would be on like a Jackson Smith-Njigba, a Marvin Harrison, a Garrett Wilson, guys who should be kind of like entering or squarely in the prime of their careers. But those guys have serious, like those guys have serious ecosystem, quarterback deployment questions, everything like that.
It's so funny because if I were to pick another one, it'd be the other old guy, Devontae Adams. If I were going to pick another one, and but here's the thing. Hell yeah, it should be JSN. You're looking at Seattle's offense. It's Cooper Kupp. You talk about a decline. That he has declined, right? It should be Jackson Smith-Njigba. And I don't want to put anything on Sam Darnold, but that's again what we're relying on is a brand new situation and opportunity in Seattle. I love JSN, and I hope he smashes. I actually think he's going to be really good this year as well. But this is, to me, it's almost just as ambiguous from an offense that I really don't know what I'm going to get from Sam Darnold in this offensive coordinator. As crazy as Tyreek is, I have a strong sense of what Miami's probably going to do here because defensively, they're probably not going to be very good. Mike McDaniel feel like he's fighting for his job. It's going to be air it out to Tyreek and Jalen Waddle, and you're going to live and die with that. And Devon Achane, 190-pound running back. But I like JSN too, man. I do.